Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 147 of the Citrix Session. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. Today is October 23rd, 2023. Let's see, I got a group with me of knowledgeable experts. Bill, let me get my commercial out of the way. If you're working with a Citrix partner, cloud software group partner, cloud software group, Citrix, and you feel like there's more you could be getting out of the product. In fact, I know there is. I know there's more you could be doing on the product. Talk to us. Let us talk to you. We do these podcasts to try to convey what the potential is. We're going to talk today about all the goodness Cloud Software Group is investing into the Citrix business unit and the technologies there. I'll let Bill chime in on this one here in a second. But Bill, I never run into customers that are truly taking advantage of what they have. They're just taking advantage of what they know. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. And it's our job to help them understand what's out there and what they really should be taking advantage of. And we try to do this when we're engaged with customers on projects, is explain, some of the benefits of some of the other capabilities that they possess within the licensing framework that they have, or even beyond, and try to evangelize that and get them to bring that in where it makes sense, which makes sense in most cases. At least some.
That was the voice of Bill Sutton. He runs our delivery team. And as Bill alluded to, we try to educate and teach along the way while we're doing projects. At the same time, we do marketing and sales to try to help evangelize what's possible. Geremy Meyers. Geremy runs the technical specialist for Cloud Software Group. Geremy lives local here, and Jeremy's been a co-host with us for a long time. Geremy, what's going
on? Listen, I'm pretty fired up about today, actually. And we talk about how we're reinvesting in the product, and I love these blog posts, and I love having Monica on because a lot of times I just can't stay in front of it myself. So there's always something that we're being rolled out. And, I was going through this blog post before we hopped on, and I'm like, man, half this stuff I have not had a chance to dig into. So I'm pretty excited about picking Monica's brain. Yeah.
So Geremy just let the cat out of the bag. The number one reason we do these podcasts is so we can talk about this stuff and learn, and then also convey through context and content what these different announcements mean to you guys. So Monica Griesemer's on. Monica's our subject matter expert today. She wrote the blog, What's New with Citrix CVAD 2308 and Cloud Updates. Monica, how are you?
I am very well. Always a thrill to be here. I thought you were going to say the number one reason why you do these podcasts is to have special guests on like myself, because it's always such a thrill. But no, I love being here, having these conversations. I totally agree with both what you, Andy, and Bill said at the top of this call. Is I think people have been using Citrix forever. We love our customers that have been with us for years and years and years, but we are continuing to crank out features, capabilities to make your lives easier, to streamline costs, to help your users, and just taking advantage of any of these things that we're talking about today. Even if you just start trying one, I think will make a huge difference in your environment. So excited to jump into it more.
Yeah, something that the world has thought was very mature. You guys just keep proving there's things that the product set needs that some of us have never thought about, but obviously you're listening to the customers and developing it in the product. Well, I think I highlighted here in the intro. Let me do this. I highlighted here in the intro, some of the ideas that you guys were investing. Geremy, it was probably your idea that we do this blog as a series of podcasts. We won't get it all done today. Why do you think it's important that people understand that Citrix, in its new format, in terms of ownership and go-to-market, continues to invest in the core product that got us here?
Well, I think, why is it important? I think because it is important. It is what has run the business. And I think, over the years, we made acquisitions that, honestly, I think folks have struggled to figure out where that piece fit into the puzzle. And, ultimately, I think we needed to invest enough in this core product to just grow it, right? So when I look at this, it used to be the case I got very excited about releases because I was like, where's that feature that felt like we were adding the ability to print money into the product or the ability to do something crazy? And I think what you'll find is, there's a lot in the core product, and what we're adding is things that just evolve it and polish it even more. And there's things that, Monica points out there where you're like, man, I didn't realize we needed this. But, within the context of an enterprise environment, you need a lot of these features. In fact, this is what the business is asking for. And so it's really exciting to see Citrix listening to customers, what's the most important things, and then them making it into the product. So it's important that customers know that that's happening. And it's happening on a fairly, quick cadence as well.
Would you say that's one of the reasons why the business is now carved up the way it is, so that the business through the business units can go wide, but the business units themselves can go deep?
I would think so. You're absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I would say Monica would probably echo that.
I completely agree. And as an individual who sits inside the Citrix business unit, right, this is what I get to live and breathe all day long. And we talk about refocus a lot through our marketing materials, but genuinely it's refocus on the product and what we do best. Mm-hmm. And the proof in this is, if you've got any customers out there that talk to our product managers on a regular basis, you're probably seeing a lot of new names come across your email, coming across your desks. The product managers and engineers are multiplying. And as a product marketing manager, that's a problem that I love to have, is getting to meet new people, discuss new things. They're bringing new ideas to the table because there's so much reinvestment that we're reinvesting in our people and our teams as well, to focus on the biggest features that are needed.
Yeah. Hey, so I'll add one of the pieces of this conversation. I'll get Bill's comment on it, and then we'll move it to the blog. I believe that Citrix Cloud Software Group is investing in Citrix because they see the pie in terms of number of people that use published apps and desktops, and even SASE type solutions growing as Microsoft becomes more engaged in this space and raises awareness for companies about how they should be, delivering compute workloads versus deploying them. Bill, what do you think?
A rising tide raises all boats, right? So yeah, I would completely agree with that, Andy.
Yeah, and that's why, to me, it makes sense that Cloud Software Group's investing in the Citrix product line.
Yeah.
Monica, Geremy, one last comment on that piece, and then we'll move into it.
I'll just say this, we do run into customers who say, our use case around Citrix is going down, which is true. I would say we do have customers who come to us and tell us that, but on the whole, we actually see the space growing, which is pretty wild, right? So we've been talking about, web apps for years and how that was going to replace what is a Windows app. And as it turns out, we're seeing web apps grow, but we're actually seeing Windows and desktop usage grow as well. So I don't think we're seeing the trend that we thought we'd see. And I don't know if that is because what you just described, Andy, Microsoft is raising the tide in this space because maybe they're just socializing it more. It's becoming more cloud centric, but we're seeing the growth in the space just explode.
And I think Microsoft realizes selling compute workloads to run x86 application and SaaS applications makes more sense for them. Meanwhile, in parallel, you got security things like ransomware that are driving us off of Windows at the endpoint. Now, that may not be happening a ton yet, but it's going to happen. Oh, actually, you know what? It is happening. If you take the rise of Apple, Mac OS, iOS, Android OS, Chrome OS, it's actually happening a ton and has been for years all around us. Mm-hmm. It's just that it hadn't made it to the laptop and the PC as much yet. Laptop kind of on the Mac side, but it's coming. There's going to be a less Windows on the endpoint. Now, less Windows on the endpoint might still be Windows, just less Windows on the endpoint. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Let me call out this. There's the 4 call outs as we start to go into the subject matter here is operational and IT efficiency. That's 1. Workload and device flexibility. Hey, sounds familiar. That's 2. Security and compliance is 3, which sounds familiar. And then finally, but not limited, or not something we don't want to focus on because we do, is employee experience and technology as the 4th one. So Monica, introduce us to the topic of improved operational efficiency as it relates to the blog.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andy. And the 4 that you just listed, those are our 4 usual suspects and how we internally and externally are categorizing our features and capabilities to weave more of a story together. So go ahead.
That real quick. You said the 4 usual suspects. Yes, but let me go. I'll walk you through them real quick. Operational IT efficiency, more important than ever. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Workload and device flexibility, more important than ever. Yes or no?
Yep.
Security and compliance, more important than ever. Yes or no?
Huge.
Employee experience and technology. Yes or no?
Yes.
My point is we've been on the right path since the mid to late 90s. It's just more important than ever.
Agreed. So that's why we like to start with not that, we can't pick our favorite children here, but improving operational and IT efficiency. We talk to these admins all day long. We talk to customers who, in the mix of juggling these multi-clouds, juggling all of these devices, juggling all of these asks from their users, we need to make their lives more efficient and more streamlined. Additionally, this first one, really excited to call out, is an elevated admin experience for those IT managed on-premises environments. And this is for workspace environment management, or WEM. So this has a lot of some of the best things that we're doing across the board all in one update. To give you a brief overview, our workspace environment management console has been available, or workspace environment management has been on-prem and in cloud. And when we migrated it to cloud, the original console just kind of got plopped into the web interface. But now we have changed the UI completely to streamlined management. We're bringing this streamlined UI to on-premises deployments. So this is twofold. Not only is this UI way cleaner, way better to use for our cloud folks, but bringing the power of that to our on-premises folks is really a home run. So that is what, and this is in tech preview right now, this cloud-based streamlined console, but for on-prem. And we're getting a ton of great traction. And I think WEM is kind of an unsung hero in and of itself. So I know I threw a lot of things out there that I'm sure we could unpack for a while, but that's update number one here.
So Geremy, your thoughts on what this is and why it matters?
So let me ask Monica a question. Do you think sort of the legacy look and feel of the console of WEM on-prem is one of the reasons it just didn't get a lot of adoption, outside of maybe an awareness? Because I think there's a lot of customers who didn't know that was a thing. But, in terms of, just the UI, folks would take a look at it and go, maybe this is not for me.
I think so. We have an amazing user research team, and obviously we talk to, or user research meaning like admin research too, right? And if you've worked with WEM in the past, it's a lot of clicking into things and GUIs to get to what you're trying to do. And a web console by itself can be so much more dynamic. We have a great team that adds pop-ups like, hey, did you know this was here? And that's just stuff you can't do inside of a more legacy on-premises console. So I think absolutely, right? You're used to the GUIs, which are good, but then you get into the command line and all of this other stuff, and just streamlining it is going to be huge for just ease of use and adoption.
So Bill, how's this going to impact projects?
Yeah, I would echo really what Geremy and Monica were saying, and that is that when I first went into the legacy WEM console, it was somewhat daunting, to be honest, and I think that a lot of customers felt the same way. They didn't really know where to go, what to do, and making this a more streamlined web console with pop-ups and things like that will definitely impact adoption. I think we already talk to customers about leveraging WEM on just about every project because in most cases, they own it. And we want to make them aware of it and what the benefits of it. Not all customers bite, but the ones that do are generally happy that they did, and making it easier for them to manage it is going to go a long way towards improving that adoption percentage.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing too, Monica, is just from a larger enterprise perspective, we've added and opened up REST APIs and whatnot for, things like the DaaS service, and even on-prem, CVAD. Are we doing the same thing for WEM in the cloud, WEM on-prem, to where now you've got organizations that want to be able to script this and leverage these REST APIs to push configurations out to WEM?
Yes. Yep. I believe there is more API work on the back end that we're doing. Absolutely. And this is the reason why I'm like, this update has so many layers to it, because to your point, Geremy, we are adding so many capabilities for our on-premises customers in general. So like you said, adding the web studio to on-premises, now the WEM console to on-premises. The last time we were all together, we talked about auto scale for on-premises. Like, I could rattle these off all day. And yeah, the REST API work, I believe, is going on in the background. I'm not as familiar with that, but just the initiative for us to bring all of these amazing capabilities back to where our customers are has been huge.
It's awesome.
So the next one list is DaaS, desktop as a service, monitor, new troubleshooting experience, session network topology.
Yeah, so this one is really exciting. So if we talk about studio, we talk about director. So studio is obviously management, director is monitoring. In the cloud, it's called DaaS monitor. So director and monitor, we're talking about the same thing. But in the cloud console, we've added session network typology. So inside of monitor, you can see the IK latency and the so the networking on the back end. So this is something that has been a huge ask. If you're having latency issues or if your users are having issues, it could be a network problem. And now built into Citrix Monitor, you have a network information tab now that tells you whose session, like in this instance, it's like Jonathan's PC. And if their ICA latency is slow, they're going through gateway service. So any of the networking backend stuff. So this has been a huge ask from customers.
Geremy, have you seen? Go ahead.
Monica, I log into my cloud tenant maybe once a week just to see if this is turned. I'm so excited about, this feature here. In fact, I think two things. One, I think this is what admins have been asking for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I mean, we're just visual people. And so being able to visualize what's going on is a little bit easier than just trying to read a spreadsheet, or not a spreadsheet, but just a table of, round trip times and things like that. So looking at this, like, it's easy for me to just go, all right, this is maybe where my latency is. This is what the VDA, I mean, there's just so much data that's packed into this, and yet somehow it's still simple at the same time.
Yeah, Geremy, you can assume I'm already thinking about how we use this integrated with ServiceNow to start being proactive about, user notifications and experiences.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. One thing that, I showed this to my team a couple of weeks ago, Monica, and, we noticed gateway services listed here. Is that what it works with today? Does it work with an on-prem gateway? You can configure, brokering through a resource location with like a traditional NetScaler. I could see that maybe being a challenge unless you have that NetScaler tied in somehow with like the ADM service, but is this working primarily with the gateway service only?
I think it's primarily gateway service, but I can double check on-premises gateway, because I agree. I think it is usually in the first step, it's the service-based stuff is what we can get the information from first. But maybe if you do have it connected to an ADM service on premises, I will follow up with you on that one, Geremy.
Okay.
And can hopefully bring it to the next call.
Yeah.
So tune in to the next podcast.
Yeah, I think this is huge. I mean, this is, to Jeremy's point, something that a lot of folks have been looking for a long time, the ability to see everything in one place, as well as understand the flow of the traffic and how it hops through various locations. And then what the ultimate connection here, it shows the ultimate connection being between the VDA and the end user. And I think a lot of admins still get caught up on the fact that it's going through the gateway, and it may be or it may not be. And the fact that this shows that, I think, is definitely helps when it comes to troubleshooting.
Yeah. You can't believe how tempted I am to get off this call and go jump into my lab environment and see this thing. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
All right, Monica, next one is synthetic monitoring, probes, multi-factor authentication, and gateway support. What is this?
So we've had app and desktop probing for a while to be able to check and make sure that sessions are going to run properly before a bunch of your users jump on them. And so previously, the Citrix app and desktop probing didn't support Citrix Gateway or Storefront with MFA or TOTP. So about 45% of our customers weren't supported. This enhancement allows customers with both MFA or TOTP to leverage the Citrix app and desktop probing in combination with their Storefront and Citrix Gateway. So for those folks that have been interested in app and desktop probing and haven't been able to use it before, we've now added that support.
So let me point out the obvious here, because this feature is slick. Do we really have 45% of customers who aren't using some sort of MFA or one-time password technology? Like that's like one of the biggest security risks ever, just from a password perspective. You got a password, you don't have that second factor. That's a big deal.
So I think what it's saying is 45% of our customers are using MFA and TOTP, but with storefront or gateway, I think on-prem. So they
Okay.
weren't supported with the probing feature. So
Got it.
I think our customers are doing well at MFA and TOTP, but we got to support them on our side.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But good call out though. Like if you're not doing that today, you probably should be.
Well, you still hear in the news all the time where people are getting ransomware or something because they didn't do that. And that's like
Sure.
table stakes at this
Mhm.
point. Go ahead, Jeremy. Any more on this one?
I got a question for Bill. Like this whole feature is really neat because it synthesizes a user logging in, right? So the idea that you can anticipate if your actual users can't log in and for what reason, seems like something that it seems like a no-brainer to turn on. Do you find customers turning this on? Are you doing projects where folks are leveraging this?
No, I've never had a project to date that's leveraged this. I think largely because customers don't know about it, to be honest with you. And certainly a lot of the customers that we're seeing today are going DaaS. But definitely we still have some that are on-prem that can benefit from this. So this is a topic for discussion going forward to make sure we bring this up to customers that have a need or an interest.
It's a no-brainer. Like Jeremy, it's a no-brainer. Everybody should do it, but most don't do it. They should also do load testing every time they make a change to the environment, but they don't do it. The truth in our space is DaaS, VDI. These are desktop guys that have never had enterprise methodologies in their wheelhouse. Therefore, they don't do it. I mean, that's my honest answer.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm sure the Oracle guys figure out capacity all the time. But desktop guys, because it's been a distributed system that was distributed. So the measuring the load wasn't all that important. You get one user complaining, another user complaining, but holistically the environment's working. They just don't think about centralized monitoring and planning.
So what I always loved about Director, and this has been a feature for a long time, is just picking apart the login process. Like how many times have we gone into Director, figured out why our login times have been really long, only to go look at the graph and find out, oh, it's because my GPO is taking 5 minutes to process, or my login script, or any of those pieces. So that's been super helpful. This kind of takes a different slant on it, which is fantastic, where it's picking apart that entire process, but it's doing it ahead of time. Whereas Director is doing it on an actual user real time. This is saying, how do we get in front of this? And to your point, Andy, can we leverage this data in the future to do something along the lines with like a ServiceNow, right? So be proactive around kind of an outage with the ITSM adapter that we've talked about before.
Okay. Next one on the list is a Citrix Workspace app for mobile, leverages any endpoint management solution.
So this falls into the admin operational and IT efficiency category because we're making workspace app management work inside of the endpoint management solutions you may be using today. So whether it's Citrix endpoint management, that one's kind of a no-brainer, but things like Intune, Mobile Iron, Cisco, and more, we've integrated APIs for Workspace app for iOS and Workspace app for Android so that you can do your Workspace app management inside of the endpoint management solutions that you might be using today. So this is just that it's both admin efficiency, but also choice. It straddles both of them. So giving admins the option to do that management inside of their endpoint management solutions. And Andy, I see you're playing the video here. A plug for our Citrix blogs and Citrix YouTube channel. We have these great Citrix features explained videos. So a lot of the things we're talking about today are very visual. So do take a look at these on what this looks like for you, where you need to click, because that's just stuff we can't cover on our end.
But does this mean we're using MAM from those other providers, but it works within the Workspace app?
So I don't know if it's just MAM. I think it's configuring the app itself. So if you want to do, you can modify like the store and the store URL inside of these workspace. Yeah, these endpoint management solutions.
And I should have said MAM. So mobile app management,
Yeah.
versus MDM, mobile device management, and the ability to do MAM within Citrix work, and in order to be able to use those other technologies on the back end, but yet make it show up and work very natively looking and feeling within Citrix Workspace app. Geremy, am I making sense here?
You are. I guess my question, because I'm thank you for playing the video, Andy. Because what you're doing is creating an app configuration policy within. This looks like Intune, but we're pushing that out from Intune as opposed to, one of the other services that have been rolled out recently are the global app configuration service, which I think only works with Windows, the Mac, maybe just Windows and Mac endpoints. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But here, we're configuring Workspace apps specifically, but we're doing that, and we've called out, Citrix Endpoint Management, of course, but, Intune, Mobile Iron, Cisco's Meraki. I got to assume any solution out there, because this is an API, it's pretty open. You can tap into whatever you got, right?
Yeah. Bill, we haven't done a lot of Citrix MAM and MDM projects of late. However, I think you probably see value in how this would allow people to integrate those other products into the Workspace app.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you think about it, if you're deploying it on a Windows machine, you're using the configuration service, or you're even using legacy group policies to manage the Workspace app. It's always been a challenge to try to manage the Workspace app running on a mobile device, on Android or an iOS, and giving the capability to do this through these solutions, of course, is the next step in being able to more granularly manage those apps on these devices than we were able to do so before. And of course, again, Citrix extending this to other MDM, MAM providers, of course, makes it a lot easier for us to adopt it.
I remember back in the day, it's been a while, but we could push out Workspace app with an MDM solution, and then we had to push out I'm going to use the wrong word here, but it was like a web link to your store that would get pushed out to the desktop of your iPad. You'd have to click that, on the desktop of the iPad. I can't believe I just called that a desktop, but anyways, on your screen, and then it would open up inside of Workspace app and configure it for you, at least pre-populate the URL is what it did, which is a little bit kludgy, and it sounds like we're just a little bit more efficient in how we can do this. Now we've got a way from within our MDM to just push a link out, to Workspace app at this point and just pre-configure it, which is pretty slick.
It's
easier on the end user for sure.
Mm-hmm. And this is, I will say, phase one, or an early phase of a bigger initiative that we're working toward, because with things like the iPhone 15 having a USB-C connector on it, using a mobile device as a workstation is becoming more and more prevalent. Do I think everyone's going to have just an iPhone and they're going to turn it into a virtual desktop? Maybe not. Do I think more people will start doing that and using that as a workstation and maybe dock it and put it into a bigger screen? Yeah. So bringing more capabilities to endpoint management solutions and to Workspace app for mobile is certainly a priority for us, to use those mobile devices as workstations, albeit, Zebra devices, iPhones, iPads, etc. So I think that's an exciting initiative too, especially if you're looking at different mobile devices to use as workstations.
Well, let's pause for a minute and just talk about the idea that Citrix is embracing other MDM and MAM solutions as part of their coexisting story. Is that a strategic direction that you guys are able to talk about?
I think in general, endpoint management solutions are becoming, we need to support more and more of them to just offer the choice in meeting our customers where they are. Yep. It's part of the hybrid story for sure. And, so I would say, yes, it's part of our direction and support. I don't know if that's the biggest part of our direction, but bringing it into the hybrid story is absolutely a priority for us.
Yeah. Would
you agree, Geremy?
Yeah, I would. We've talked frequently about the openness, and we've done this for years on the hypervisor side. Our hosting connections inside of DaaS is, cloud, on-prem, you bring whatever you need to, even though we've had our own product in XenTegra. I think it makes sense just based on the industry and the space is, we'll need to support everything that customers bring in. And oh, by the way, we look at that list that we've got on the blog post right now, just given how acquisitions work, you're going to have customers with multiple versions of this as well.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of Citrix, maybe some Meraki, you've got Intune, and it just becomes the nature of having to support these, hybrid environments. I don't necessarily mean hybrid cloud and on-prem, but just bring your own vendor, IDP, authentication.
Well, and I think we're probably going to see a lot of Intune, right, by default, because it's part of the Microsoft stack. Right. Let's go bring it into the family here. All right. So next section talks about secure private access on premises admin configuration tool. First of all, Monica, I think you put the blog together. Thank you for not saying SPA and just expecting everybody to know what that means. So let's take a step back. We're in the realm in this conversation around zero trust, SASE, and in this case, secure private access to on-premises, what I believe is going to be web apps, but tell me, I think we've been doing it for x86 apps forever. And this specifically is talking about the admin configuration tool. Walk me through this real quick. So obviously zero trust is zero trust. It kind of makes sense what it means. SASE stands for, and what is it overall?
You had to put me on the spot with that one.
Geremy, go ahead. The acronym SASE, because I have to look it up every single time.
Secure Access Service Edge.
Edge. There we go. I can never
Yes.
remember the E. Secure.
Is secure private access part of a SASE strategy, or are those two things in parallel that work within a zero trust strategy?
The answer is yes. It is a
Right.
part of a secure access service edge or SASE strategy for sure.
Yeah, I love the tech guys. Sometimes the sales guys who listen to the tech guys just throw around the acronym SASE and have no idea what it means. It drives me crazy. In this case, secure private access, what do people throw around with SPA? So again, secure private access on premises admin configuration tool. Monica, what's this about?
So secure private access at its base is allowing for security around your web and SaaS applications. So that's what makes it both a SASE solution and inherently zero trust, not to keep throwing around, acronyms there. But with the tool, so secure private access was historically only a cloud-based capability. And we brought this to on-premises earlier this year, which was a huge announcement in and of itself for anyone using on-premises storefront, your on-premises CVAD environments. You're going to have web and SaaS applications too. That's where the world is. And so being able to put things like watermarks, limit copy paste, also adding the secure Citrix Enterprise browser, having that enterprise level browsing capability, which I know we've all talked about before. What we're saying here is continuous evolution of this capability. We have added an admin configuration tool. So you can leverage this tool. It's just basically a GUI that we've plopped into the on-premises version of Secure Private Access. And you can configure your app settings. So restricting clipboard printing, restricting uploads, key logging, but also inside of this, you can configure your NetScaler gateway and storefront settings. So the root, the gateway, and the storefront URL. So adding this user interface to make it easier for the configuration of secure private access for on-premises. Yeah. So it's been really cool having conversations with customers, and I think this is showing the evolution of Citrix 2 that we talked about from the jump of the call is, okay, our desktop admins, they've seen it. We've got a couple legacy apps on Citrix, but this is the future of Citrix, is securing all of your app and desktop delivery.
Yeah, can we talk about that a little bit? Because I swear it drives me nuts. I go into these meetings, these Citrix meetings, and people, first thing they tell me is how they rolled out MetaFrame or WinFrame, and I'm like, oh Lord,
here we go.
I got somebody caught in 25 years ago, and they're Citrix expert from 25 years ago. I am floored with the number of people that don't understand the value in the SaaS apps being delivered from a centralized digital workspace. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just venting here because it's beyond me that people don't realize that what was good for these x86 apps is also good for these SaaS apps, and you can't just let them be free range forever.
Agreed. And I heard this analogy the other day. I think it's almost like when we're talking MetaFrame, we're talking 25 years ago, that's almost like the lowercase c Citrix, right? That's kind of like where we've been. If, you're kind of used to this thing that Citrix was, but the capital C Citrix as a part of Cloud Software Group, as a business unit that's doubling down, it's the future of how apps and desktops are delivered. But it's securing every single thing that you have. It's not just this one line item that you used 25 years ago. It really is more than that.
Well, and it's great to see the company making progress in providing more capabilities, including on-prem. That's amazing.
Yep.
I struggle with the amount of people that aren't listening to why this is important. Geremy, do you see this all the time?
I do. I mean, it's funny how many conversations I walk into where there's an assumption, oh, I understand Citrix. Like they walk into the conversation like I know how to publish web apps. I know what this looks like. And they sort of missed where the future of a lot of this is going. And trying to walk back someone who doesn't think they need to learn something is tough, right? And so honestly, this is usually where I start with a demo. And some folks will ask me, well, how are you publishing that? And I go, well, this isn't published, which is kind of what we're looking at here. We've got a different method of delivering centrally these SaaS apps. And it's pretty powerful. And the fact that the browser is already included with what you're already deploying, probably anyways, with the enterprise browser, it's a part of Workspace app, means that you've got half of the story already built. Yeah, here you go. Let's start delivering some SaaS apps this way.
And if you're doing this, you're delivering SaaS, and you have that one pain in the rear end legacy application, x86, that you can't get rid of, including Windows, you're covered.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I can't begin to say how many times I've gone into organizations that are publishing SaaS apps via a Citrix virtual app, a published app, or even within a desktop, and that's the only way it's delivered. And that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that was how we secured them, right? If we wanted to provide an environment where everything stayed in the data center, so to speak, then that's how we did it. And that's not how it needs to be done today. And we've started to see some interest in this. I've got a project right now that includes this. It's the cloud service version. But bringing this on-prem certainly is going to help improve adoption. And in addition, I noticed, Monica, in the first sentence of the tool, it actually says this tool does all of the heavy lifting, as it were, from the standpoint of what you need for storefront, as well as what you need for the gateway, which is huge because a lot of admins may not be gateway experts or NetScaler experts. And the fact that this tool can generate the scripts that can then be passed on to the NetScaler admin for review and incorporation into the environment is really, really beneficial to the admins.
Next topic to keep moving along. Now we're moving into delivering workload and device flexibility. First call out here is around the universal subscription licensing for Japan control plane. Is that really what this part is? This one?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we just kind of wrapped up the operational and IT efficiency, but I like to put back to back. It's like I planned this blog or something. The delivering workload and device flexibility, because those conversations go hand in hand. Right. Obviously is making admins' lives simpler, but at the same time, to what we're using, whether it's what we talked about today, endpoint management solutions, control planes, clouds, public, private, our answer is yes. So just kind of showcasing what new capabilities we've added. This point here is pretty simply, we have added the universal subscription to the Japan control plane. Okay. So within the space in Japan, they're highly regulated with their security needs. So we have a specific cloud control plane for Japan, and now we have introduced the universal subscription in that geographic location.
Yeah, we should go on like the offensive, trying to get Japan listeners. That would be so cool. How many control planes are there?
That's a good question. I know there's one for Japan. I believe there's a Gov one. Geremy, you'd probably know better than I.
So on the Gov side, I'm not sure. I know there's a Gov one in the US. I'm not sure if there's a Gov one outside the US.
Fair.
And I guess there is one in EMEA, and the one in APJ, because I haven't had too much experience in APJ, is I don't know where that one sits. So I know we've got the Japanese one. I don't know if we've got one in Australia.
We may. Yeah, I'll have to see if I can get that answer too.
That's all right. This one caught me off guard, and I skipped it somehow when I was preparing for this. Monica, anything to add to that? Bill, do you have any thoughts on the Japanese control plane?
I not really, other than it's great that they've got that capability for the folks in that region, of course. But we haven't run into any projects with that yet.
I was just using that. I mean, obviously Citrix understands their customers and realizes government control plane. There's APJ ones and others as needed. Just part of being a mature company.
I will also call out not just the geography of that one, but then the universal subscription, right? That's kind of bringing us back to center and the things that we are talking about with all bringing features to on-premises and cloud, right? The universal subscription. I think Geremy likes my references. One subscription to rule them all, one license to rule them all, right? Put your workloads and your apps and desktops wherever you want. Deliver your web SaaS, published, legacy, new, old, homegrown virtual apps inside of, either the cloud UI or the on-premises UI. So bringing that flexibility, and here obviously we doubled down on the geography and the regulatory and compliance needs, but I got to plug the universal subscription every time I'm on here because it's really what's kind of our gravitational pull.
It's what customers were demanding for so long, and then Citrix and these changes has decided to bring it forward, and it really does make a lot of sense for customers. That part's been a no-brainer in conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this real quick, just to make sure we're clear. It is Australia. I had to get that off my chest. I did Google that on the fly, and it is in our documentation. So
that was going to keep you up tonight, Geremy.
It was going to bug me.
It's going to bug you.
Talk about where it's hosted.
Yeah, we're so we've got in fact, it shows up in when you sign up for a new tenant, it asks you where you want to host it. You've got the United States, EMEA, and Asia Pacific South, which just happens to be in Sydney.
Yeah, we need to go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't so far to fly.
Yeah. I mean, we can do a tour and find all of the locations. I mean, I'd be down, gentlemen. We could do a podcast on the road. There we go.
Yeah, let's move on. Next section says unlock seamless user authentication with Google as the identity provider. What's new here?
This one is about Google as an IDP, right? So Google as an identity provider. So if you're invested in Google Workspace and Cloud Identity, the collaboration between the two of us brings together the advantages of like simplifying your deployments to lead to cost savings, and Active Directory and cloud connectors, those needs are eliminated. So just bringing support as Google as an IDP, which has been a customer ask for a while now.
And so the admin has been around for a while. Now it's the end users that can be the identity from Google, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Utilize Google IDP for authenticating user access to Citrix DaaS. Yep.
Now, is this something that's been in check preview for a while, Monica? Because I feel like
I feel like we've talked about it before.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is something that has been available in my console for a while, but the nice thing about the cloud is tech previews show up all the time, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you can start testing these features before they go live. But I guess what we're saying here is this is officially GA, generally available, and it's supported is the biggest bullet to that.
So we don't have time now. I'd love to hear from Bill how this impacts the user flow all the way into not legacy, but the VDI, the server desktop, the published app. Bill and Geremy both. Does that work these days if you come through a different provider? I know it's been evolving.
It does. We've done this with a customer already. We kind of were on the cutting edge, so to speak, because they were a Google Workspace client and wanted to leverage. They did not want to leverage Active Directory. They didn't have to build all that infrastructure. So there are some caveats there in terms of what you have to do on the endpoint, but it's really not all that difficult once you understand it. And I imagine it's gotten a lot better now that it's GA. But we have done this and it works very well.
Awesome.
In fact, just to bring it full circle, Andy, is this customer wanted non-domain joined VMs because again, they're don't want to use Active Directory. So they're logging in with Google IDP. They are launching desktops that are not attached to a domain. And oh, by the way, they still wanted profile management. So how do you do that if you don't have a domain to start pushing WEM? So we used WEM, which also supports non-domain joined machines, and magically it worked.
And that goes back to my commercial in the beginning. I mean, we were doing that before it really was mainstream, and our relationship with Citrix probably had a lot to do with getting that one done successfully.
Yeah, it did, right, Geremy?
Right. Well, I think the other thing about this is, man, it's amazing what customers have brought to us and said, "Hey, does this work?" Like, it's easy if you're in a very specific siloed, very cohesive ecosystem of like all Microsoft, for instance. But I mean, I would say, Mr. Customer, just bring whatever scenario you've got. I think we've got a solution for you. It just takes sitting down with a partner like XenTegra to go, "Hey, let's put it on the whiteboard, see how the dots connect," and it's probably going to work.
So, guys, we're trying to get through the end within this hour, and we're going to. The next one is Linux enhanced Linux enhancements deliver workload choice. And I want to cover this one, but I really want to get to the ServiceNow one after that. So let's, Monica, the Linux piece here.
Yeah, I mean, rapid fire. So we've added a number of updates to Linux. We've got session recording in Linux now. We also have introduced XDP enhancements for supporting user experience and adding efficiency. So we have also added multi-session vGPU support. So we have a whole blog out there, I believe, or maybe at least in docs for sure, to be able to search what's happening in Linux. So just always bringing Linux to the table. It's always an option for you.
Right. Bill, Geremy, anything specific you want to talk about as it relates to the Linux enhancements?
No, she covered it. It's great. I love Linux.
Where it's being used and is strategically part of the application delivery story, then absolutely.
Yeah, we've seen some interest in it from certain industries, but and I've built it in a lab, but we've never actually been asked to deploy it, to my knowledge.
All right, the next section says bringing more to the Citrix ITSM, so IT Service Management Adapter for ServiceNow. As you guys know, that's what I'm most passionate about at XenTegra these days, tying ServiceNow and our key technologies like Citrix, NetScaler, you name it. Had a conversation this morning around ShareFile that Geremy was probably on. Everywhere, ServiceNow integration. First one says support parameters for run PowerShell on any machines. And that sounds powerful. Monica, what's that about?
So previously we had a custom activity for IT administrators to execute PowerShell scripts on a machine from ServiceNow, but we've actually added an improvement to this custom activity by supporting script parameters so that you can feed the activity with a JSON string containing parameters and values for the PowerShell script. So just making that much stronger and much easier to use.
Geremy, comments there?
I mean, it sounds like we just opened up another one of the. So I'll stick with the Lord of the Rings reference. Feel like we just gave ServiceNow one of the rings because there's just you can run anything on a machine with PowerShell, which is pretty amazing, right? So we've got these out of the box and workflows already.
Yeah,
the fact that we can run just about anything on a VDA now is pretty impressive.
And I'm assuming you're doing that through the agent, therefore you have some kind of elevated privileges.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the concepts there, what rights you have with PowerShell on that endpoint is kind of within, I guess that's within the Windows world at that point. That customer is probably going to need Active Directory. That one we were talking about a while ago.
More than likely.
Probably, yes.
Bill, any comments on this PowerShell piece?
I'm interested in the fact that you can leverage JSON for this, which makes it even more powerful, and the ability to include multiple parameters in a single command or a single workflow. So certainly a lot more powerful than just the custom activity capability that was there before.
Yeah. All right, last one here for today, and then we got a whole bunch more to cover. We're about halfway through, I guess. Integrate with Citrix Cloud Health, status.cloud.com. Again, we get all this stuff into integrated with ServiceNow, then we can do lots of things with it. Monica, what's this one about?
Pretty straightforward, but the ITSM adapter for ServiceNow, it now supports status.cloud.com. So it helps your risk management strategies, right? So you can subscribe to alerts and notifications from Citrix to define policies in ServiceNow. So if there is a cloud status update, or you can subscribe a policy in ServiceNow dependent based on the alerts from status.cloud.com. So just adding more and more capabilities into the ITSM adapter.
Yeah. Geremy, comment here.
No, this is great. I mean, I think being able to not only basically bubble up status within the console, I'm assuming you probably take some proactive actions based on this as well. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I would imagine you can do whatever actions. You can set the actions in ServiceNow based on the input from status.cloud.com.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw out here on the ITSM adapter for ServiceNow. Obviously, great partners like XenTegra are kind of beating the drum on our integration with ServiceNow. But this is also a great opportunity to optimize costs, right? If you have Citrix, if you have ServiceNow today, leverage them together and save on your help desk tickets, save time, automate restarts, and then adding these integrations in addition to the new capabilities we've added to the workspace app, like Activity Manager, let users self-serve so that it saves your help desk folks and admins a ton of time and therefore money.
Yep.
So wanted to throw that one out there too.
And virtual agent integration, there's so much you can do with ServiceNow and companies like Citrix and other cloud software group technology business units that are being proactive about how to integrate the two. And it just makes the value in what you own go through the roof. Hey guys, I think we're out of time. I'm sure you guys got other meetings, and we got Monica scheduled for a week or 5 to come back on here and talk about
Can't get rid of me, gentlemen.
We appreciate your time today. Jeremy, any parting words?
No, I am looking for I love this blog post. Anytime this series comes out, we get pretty fired up about having Monica on to go through it.
And it's quarterly, so by the time we get done, it's almost time to do it again. Bill, any thoughts on your side?
I mean, it's the same thing I've said time and time again, and I'll just say it one more time, and that is it's great to see Citrix Cloud Software Group continuing to add value to the product, both for the cloud, for DaaS, as well as on premises. And this is just a testimony to their willingness to continue to expand and improve and innovate. And I love seeing this kind of stuff. I love this blog too. I love when it comes out, I almost always try to read through it as much as I can with the time available. And of course, it's great to be able to go through it like this.
Yeah. All right, Monica, anything else?
No, I just appreciate the support and the conversations. It really helps bring these blogs to life. I'm glad we get so much traction because they are such a team effort and just, months and months of combination of research with PMs, PMMs. So I'm glad they're of such value and we can really have these open and honest conversations about it. So
I think the concept is to get the content out, like we were talking about. Geremy learns a lot and gets to get deeper while we have these conversations. Bill, myself too, and I think even you are learning stuff as we challenge some of the things that are written. And
absolutely,
we all get better together. That's the point.
Yep.
Context matters. That's my tagline.
Agreed.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll do it again next week.
Okay. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks all.